This woman was locked in an iron coffin and thrown to the bottom of the ocean. She drowned and died, but immediately revived. Now she is doomed to die and resurrect again and again. She will be tortured like this for over 500 years. In a small closed room, the consequences of a bloody showdown are visible. There are a lot of corpses and used shells lying around. A mysterious female voiceover tells that this has happened many times already, and this one is unlikely to be the last. And endless repetitions only cause fatigue. The main character, a brunette named Andy, walks the streets of Marrakesh. Suddenly, a colleague named Booker overtakes her on a motorcycle and tells that their employer James Copley, a former CIA officer who is now on his own, contacted him. The case concerns a hostage situation in South Sudan. Andy reminds them that it's in their policy not to work twice for the same employer, as it's too risky. But still, she gives in, and agrees to go to the hotel to meet with the rest of her colleagues. When checking into the hotel, Booker names family business as the purpose of his visit. Meanwhile, the tourist girls next to Andy take a selfie and she realizes that she too was in the photo. Andy politely offers to take a picture of them, deftly deleting the unwanted photo from their smartphone. Longtime friends and colleagues named Joe and Nikki are waiting for them in one of the rooms of the hotel. They are obviously happy to see Booker and Andy after a long break. During the conversation, it becomes clear that Andy is their leader and she is clearly against their participation in the new task. But she promises to meet and talk with the employer. During the meeting, Copley's employer reveals that he left the CIA 2 years ago due to the death of his wife. Then he gets down to business and explains that militants attacked a school yesterday in South Sudan and took 17 children hostage. South Sudan has requested U.S. assistance, but the U.S. leadership has denied such operations to anyone who is not their strategic ally. But the CIA sometimes likes to break the rules, so they turn to James. According to him, the matter is urgent and he is ready to offer any money for it. After some thought, Andy agrees and promises to invoice after the fact. The helicopter delivers the team to the site of the operation. After waiting for the night, they begin to act. Having dealt with numerous guards, they get inside the building, find the right room, but unexpectedly fall into an ambush. A crowd of armed soldiers surrounds the heroes from all sides and cold-bloodedly shoot from all guns, leaving no living place on them. Deciding that the deed is done, the soldiers disperse. But then something unusual happens. Demonstrating miracles of regeneration, the bodies of the heroes instantly heal and they, as if nothing had happened, come to their senses. Shocked opponents do not believe their eyes and, taking them by surprise, the team spectacularly defeats them with hand-to-hand combat. Taking a breath, the heroes are trying to understand where the children are located. But the insightful Andy immediately realizes that there were no hostages at all, and Copley's employer simply set them up. In a rage, she breaks a surveillance camera, through which an alarmed Copley is watching them. And here, near his monitor, we see one funny detail. A photograph of all our heroes, dated June 1864. In the middle of the desert, the heroes gradually move away from the failure of the operation and bury their belongings. Still in anger, Andy reproaches her colleagues for not listening to her intuition. Booker apologizes and admits that it's all on his conscience. Andy is sure that Copley and his people know who they are, and therefore by all means he must be found. And then everything can go to hell, because she no longer intends to continue with this line of work. Meanwhile, in the zone of the American military operation in Afghanistan, in one of the local settlements, U.S. Marines are conducting a raid in search of a particularly dangerous terrorist. Civilians are afraid to hand over the criminal, but one woman silently points out his whereabouts. During the assault, the terrorist is eliminated, but before his death, he manages to cut the throat of a military man named Neil Freeman. Having lost a lot of blood, she dies. Meanwhile, Andy, Booker, Joe and Nikki are trying to take a nap in a boxcar. And suddenly, all of them are simultaneously visited by a vision of the event that happened to Neil Freeman and how she comes to her senses already in the hospital. They try to determine what it was, but Andy is the leader for a reason, as she immediately guesses about a possible addition to their ranks. According to her, for about 200 years they have not found their own kind and, most likely, their new colleague is serving as a Marine in Afghanistan. Remembering themselves, Joe, Nikki and Booker imagine how bad and lonely she must be after her first return from the dead. They are also sure that if they dream of her, then she must also dream of them. Andy is very upset that such an important event happened at such an unfortunate time. She decides to go in search of the girl herself, and orders her colleagues to settle in a safe house in France. At an American military base in Afghanistan, two colleagues decide to visit Neil in the hospital. On the way, one of them tells how she was sure that she was dead. Entering the ward, the friends see that the slightly confused Neil is sitting on the bed as if nothing had happened, and there is not a hint of a former injury left on her neck. The girl jokes that she probably just had skin transplanted from her ass. Next, we move to London for an investment conference, where James Copley is also present. Stephen Merrick, head of the pharmaceutical company Merrick Pharmaceuticals, is delivering a speech on the subject of extending human life. After the event, Copley shows Merrick the very recording of the ambush, where the heroes miraculously come to life after a crushing execution. A stunned Merrick asks to urgently get the DNA of these phenomena, but Copley explains that it will not be easy. Meanwhile, at the military base, rumors spread very quickly and Neil has already become a local star. Colleagues constantly look askance at her and see her off with their eyes. During training, a sergeant approaches the girl and orders her to get ready to fly to Germany for examination. Neil says that she is quite healthy, but the chief recalls the moment when even the dog tag was already removed from her, with the words that not every day one returns from the other world. The sergeant orders the girl to pack her things. 3 military men arrive to escort Neil to the plane, but Andy suddenly appears and deftly knocks them out. The frightened girl asks who she is and Andy introduces herself as Andromache of Scythia. After meeting her, she also knocks out Neil. Andy hijacks a military Hummer and loads Neil in the trunk. On the way, the girl comes to her senses, knocks out the trunk with her foot and falls out onto the road. Noticing this, Andy stops and chases Neil. She tries to run away, but Andy just shoots her in the head. The girl falls dead on the road, but little by little she begins to regenerate. Andy is outraged, remembering how long it takes the first time. Waking up, Neil realizes that she was killed again and she resurrected again. Andy orders her to get into the car, but the girl tries to resist and plunges a knife into her kidnapper's chest. Andy easily pulls out the blade and just throws it away. Shocked, Neil asks who she is, and Andy introduces herself as the head of a group of immortal warriors. And if Neil still needs answers to questions, then she should go with her. After some thought, the girl follows. They arrive at the guarded airfield of some Russian drug dealers and board a pre-arranged plane. Neil changes into civilian clothes while Andy finds a bottle of liquor. The girl asks how many others like her. Andy explains that there are only 4 of them and Neil is obliged to join them. After waiting for Andy to fall asleep, Neil ties her with a belt and makes the pilot turn around. At this moment, Andy wakes up. In Russian, orders the pilot to pretend to be dead and shoots him with a pistol. The plane begins to fall and Neil is forced to untie Andy because she herself does not know how to fly the plane. As if nothing had happened, the pilot continues to fly the plane, while Andy deals with the rebellious girl, breaking her arms and legs. Having recovered, Neil assumes that her relatives, friends and colleagues will look for her, but Andy convinces her that, after what happened, only the fate of a guinea pig awaited her in the army. The heroes arrive at their abandoned safe house near the cemetery, where the others are waiting for them. At dinner, Neil is told that their team has been together for many years, and the last new one before her was found back in the time of Napoleon. They are predestined to always be together and therefore, when they are apart, they dream of each other. The girl asks if they are destined to live forever, but Andy remembers that once, one of them died. She does not understand why it happened, just that one moment their wounds can stop healing. In the middle of the night, Neil wakes up from a nightmare and reveals that she dreamed of a woman in a coffin underwater. Then she is told the story of the real heroine of her dream named Quinn, who was the first of those whom Andy found. Then there were only 2 of them. They wandered the world together and fought in numerous wars. Once in England they were accused of witchcraft, and in those troubled times, the punishment for it was the death penalty. But no matter how many times or in what way they were executed, they still survived, thereby proving their guilt. Then the church realized that together they were too powerful and decided to separate them forever. Quinn was placed in an iron coffin and thrown to the bottom of the ocean. Later, Andy escaped from prison and for 10 years tried to find the whereabouts of her friend, but she never succeeded. Since then, Andy has been living with a deep sense of guilt, because she should not have let this happen. For more than 500 years, her friend has been going crazy at the bottom of the ocean, constantly dying, resurrecting, and dying again. You would not wish such a fate on your worst enemy, and that is why they are most afraid of being caught. Suddenly, Copley again organizes an ambush, and the special forces treacherously surround their hideout. While Neil and Andy are walking in the yard, the fighters break into the house and kill Booker. As he regenerates, Andy deals with the attackers, only to discover that the attackers have kidnapped Joe and Nikki. Booker, Neil, and Andy hurriedly leave the house and temporarily decide to take refuge in their next hideout, a long-abandoned mine where they store their centuries-old memories and supplies. Meanwhile, Joe and Nikki are delivered straight to Stephen Merrick. He immediately decides to see with his own eyes the abilities of our heroes and stabs them several times with a knife. Before the eyes of those present, their wounds are instantly healed, and a joyful Merrick anticipates not only the future Nobel Prize, but also huge profits. At the mine, Andy is surprised to find that her wounds are not healing. She leaves anxiously, leaving Booker and Neil alone. The girl continues to ask questions about the nuances of immortality, and Booker reveals that he had 3 sons who died long ago. According to him, Neil needs to get used to the fact that she will forever remain young, and all her relatives and friends will gradually die. He advises the girl not to tell anyone about her secret, because people will beg to share their power, and she will not be able to do it. And then even relatives will cease to understand her and begin to hate. At this time, Andy visits the pharmacy and clumsily tries to pick up some medicine for herself. After all, life did not prepare her for this. Confused, Andy asks the saleswoman to treat her wound, and she politely helps. Meanwhile, in Merrick's lab, Joe and Nikki are undergoing various research in an attempt to recreate their valuable DNA. Booker informs Andy that he may have found the location of their friends, and they immediately follow them to the London area. At the last moment, Neil refuses to be a member of the team, explaining that she does not want such a life and wants to return to his real family. Andy allows the girl to leave them and, together with Booker, goes to storm Copley's mansion. As soon as Andy finds Copley and tries to find out the whereabouts of Nikki and Joe from him, Booker treacherously shoots her in the back. Enraged, Andy realizes that Booker set them up, but he claims that he acted for their good, because Merrick can find a way to end the immortality of which she is so tired. But then Booker notices that Andy's wound is not healing and realizes that she is no longer immortal. At that moment, Merrick bursts into the room with his people, but Copley tries to explain to him that Andy has lost her gift and may not be able to endure his cruel studies. But Merrick's men knock out Copley, and Andy and Booker are taken to the lab. When Copley wakes up, Neil unexpectedly visits his house and proves that she is one of the immortals. Copley convinces the girl that by his actions he simply wanted to help the world in the fight against diseases, but now he realized that all the torment of the immortals is happening for the personal benefit of Merrick. In this regard, he radically changed his mind and is ready to help Neil save them. Copley brings Neil to the London office of Merrick's company. The girl decides to take him by storm, but immediately dies. Quickly recovering, she deftly deals with the relaxed guard and pulls her friends out of the laboratory. Freed, the team fight their way through Merrick's army and sneak into his penthouse. As Booker, Joe, and Nikki deal with the remaining guards, the girls run into Merrick. Knowing that Andy is no longer immortal, he points a gun at her. Saving her friend, Neil rushes at the bastard and falls out of the window of a skyscraper with him. Quickly arriving friends pull out the practically revived Neil from the broken car and leave together before the police arrive. As punishment for Booker's betrayal, the group forbids him from contacting them for 100 years. The rest of the group meets at Copley's mansion, who shows them an investigation map of their past missions and the benefits they have brought to the world. With a renewed faith in their destiny, the group instructs Copley to become the keeper of their secret, as well as to help them in every possible way in the future. 6 months later, a drunken Booker arrives at his Paris apartment, where he is surprised to meet the long-lost queen.